And he said, okay.
After only one album, Ritchie wanted to change the lineup, getting rid of the old Elf members.
Oh, so he actually played with Elf on the first album. It was just Elf and you, and he hated that. He really hated it, which is probably one of the reasons why a lot of the people were gone after that, you know, get rid of that Elf stigma. I'm the one who had to tell them all. So it was a very personal thing for me. Ritchie is a person who tends to let other people do his work for him, whether it's dirty work or clean work. And so he allowed me, he kind of forced me to have to do that. It was very hurtful for me. These were my best friends, guys I grew up with, you know, from little kids, and our dreams were, my dreams were their dreams were my dreams. So it was very hard to puncture that.
Sabbath was still enjoying the life in California. How far the band had travelled from their roots only came home to Geezer Butler when he went back to Birmingham.
I got back to the girl I was living with in England, and I couldn't speak to her. I'd just changed so much. And I always remember she was like, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "I just can't stay here. I cannot stay in England anymore. There's nothing here for me." And I couldn't face my parents or anything like that. I was just like drugged up to the max. The drugs had just taken over the band. I think we all felt that, you know, that we'd lost our edge. We weren't working class backstreet kids anymore.
I've been in so many rehabs and drug addiction and alcohol addiction clinics. I mean, I got the Egon Rowan book of treatment centres, and I can tell you which is good, which is not, which is good.
During the mid-70s, both Geezer and Ozzy left the band for brief periods because of the strain of the life that they were leading. But the band's friendships and the continuing success they enjoyed kept them together.
So Ozzy came back and we did the Never Say Die album. And as we were doing it, I just knew that it's the end. Probably won't even get through the album, never mind another tour. You just could feel it that we needed a change. Somehow, somewhere, there was going to be a change soon.
By 1978, the four of them had been together for 10 years, and the forces pulling them apart were so great that something had to give. Ozzy was the first casualty.
In this point, Ozzy was probably in a bad way. And we had to say, well, look, we've got to do something, otherwise, if we don't, you know, we're not going to we're going to have to break up, or we're not going to have an album.
It was the most saddest time. It was me that talked to Ozzy and said, you know, a decision's been made to move on without you. He knew anyway. You know, he's pretty smart, you know.
You only know what you've missed when it's gone. You know, it's like the breakup that we had was just like a divorce. I mean, I said loads of bad things about those guys, and they said loads of bad things about me. I mean, they ain't going to praise me. I ain't going to praise them because we didn't leave it. We didn't separate in a happy mode, shall we say. We didn't go, well, see you later, guys, you know, enjoy it.
Ozzy left Sabbath in an acrimonious split. Back in Rainbow, Ronnie Dio had stayed for 3 albums and several lineup changes, but in the end, he and Ritchie Blackmore fell out.
Obviously, 2 very strong characters, and I think something was inevitably bound to give. I think Ronnie wanted to do his own, instead of being part of Ritchie's band, I think Ronnie wanted to have his own band and wanted to be the focus of attention. So I think inevitably there was going to be a problem at some point.
I was asked to start writing love songs and poppy things, and I don't do that, and I refuse to do that. So, bye. And that was it. Clean and simple. Nice clean break. See ya. Your elbow too. Your turf. See ya, mate. And then that was me. You know, I was gone. I mean, it was Richie's band, and he had the right to do whatever he wanted to do. So he got someone else in who was willing to wear what he wanted to wear.
Ronnie wasn't out of work for long. With Ozzy gone, Sabbath needed a new singer.
But I spoke to him on the phone, and I met him over at Don Arden's house at the party. We spoke about things. And so I said, do you want to come over and have a play with us and see how we get on?
You know, my first opportunity to meet Tony in the flesh, and Geezer and Bill. And we got along really well. Went out into the rehearsal room, and Tony showed me something, and we wrote a song called Children of the Sea that night.
In the misty morning.
We liked his voice, and we liked the way things were happening. We were managing to be able to start writing material again. And it was happening quick, so that was the bottom line. We wanted to make an album. We had to carry on.
The band felt that Ronnie had brought a new lease of life to Sabbath.
I loved the stuff that Sabbath were doing then. And it really inspired me again, and I really got into it, and I realised it was the right move. You know, one of us had to go, and unfortunately it had to be Ozzy.
Ozzy especially has real staunch fans, and for someone else to come into Sabbath, I mean, God, that was sacrilegious to these people. So, in the early days, there was a little bit of, finger throwing at concerts, and, signs being chucked up that, were less than flattering to me, but that didn't matter to me. I don't care. You say what you want to say. I'm on the stage, you're not.
Bill Ward was tiring of life in the band. His state of mind wasn't helped by his growing alcoholism.
I don't know if Bill got on with Ronnie that well. And Bill, again, of course, was going through a lot of stages with his drink and everything. And that I don't think we all quite appreciated how bad he was.
It was intolerable for me to get beyond a stage without Osborne. And I drank very, very heavily. My alcoholism accelerated at an unbelievable rate. I had no idea how to come to terms with the loss of Ozzy not being in Black Sabbath.
Bill was getting in a terrible state. I mean, he was just like deeper and deeper and deeper, and like this one particular night we were on tour. And we were doing all the biggest arenas in America, and we got to Denver. Bill came in and started talking to me about stuff that I can't, it's like a totally, he may as well have been a Martian or something. It's like on a total different planet to where I was on. And I said, yeah, all right, yeah, okay, Bill, yeah, all right, yeah. Bill, I just don't know what the hell you're talking about, I don't do drugs or drink anymore or anything like that. And he went absolutely mental. And he says, what, you don't think I'm good enough for you now or something? And he just said, that's it, I'm leaving the band. I went, hey? What are you talking about? And he just went downstairs, got on his bus, and he went. And that was it. He left the band.
I couldn't play drums anymore. And we gave an official reason to the press. Bill's trying to get over the tragic loss of his mother. And that's true. My mother had died a little time before that. And that was true. But what was really going on is that I couldn't function, period. My health was worsening with the alcoholism. And I couldn't believe in that Sabbath.
Bill's sudden departure in the middle of a tour was a terrible blow for the band.
I'd played with Bill for, seemed all my life. I'd never had another drummer, Bill was always the drummer. And I couldn't imagine life without Bill. And I did panic.
The band called on American drummer Vinny Appice, whose knowledge of Sabbath's music was limited.
I wasn't that huge of a Sabbath fan. I actually didn't even own a record. I remember listening to it over friends' houses and hearing it on the radio, so I didn't know a lot of the songs.
We rehearsed a couple of days with him, and then we had this big show in Hawaii to do. And it was an open-air show.